Hello and welcome to this third and last deployment lecture in this course, Mastering Artificial Intelligence. So, in this lecture, we will take you through an example of how a company did deploy trained models into actual production environment and integrated smoothly into existing system and met the performance requirements. So, example of that. So this is an example where the team had trained the sentiment analysis model, right, using NLP techniques, and that was built to classify text as positive or negative or neutral sentiments, as we would have seen earlier. And then they deployed this model into production environment, real life production environment, where it could receive text input from the users and return sentiment predictions in real time. Now, what did they do? Let's take a look at that. So, first they did was the serialize the trained input using a format pickle. So, pickle they picked up and they gave the command as you see here primarily to serialize the trained model. So, this command was used to import pickle and serialize the model. Then they set up a RESTful API using the web frameworks such as Flask to expose the endpoints for model interpretation, model inference, and implemented API endpoints to receive the text inputs, passing them on to through the trained model and returning sentiment predictions. So they built the bridges through API for data to go in and get processed using the models that they've been building. Then they implemented the data processing logic within the endpoints to handle the text inputs that included things like tokenization, text normalization, and feature extraction. So they implemented the pre-processing logic because without this, obviously the model won't run properly. Then they optimize the endpoints for performance by minimizing latency, the response time, and maximizing the output, that number of users who could use or number of data, amount of data that could flow. And doing that, they considered techniques such as caching, batching, and asynchronous processing to handle concurrent requests efficiently. And that's what they did. Then they integrated the deployed API endpoints with existing systems and applications that require sentiment analysis functionality. So the integration happened. And where in this integration, they ensured compatibility with data formats, protocols, and authentication mechanism used by the other system. Otherwise, the integration won't happen. Then they started implementing logging and monitoring mechanisms to track things like API usage, performance metrics, and errors in real time. And they started monitoring key matrices such as response time, throughputs, and error rates to detect anomalies and performance degradations. While doing all that, they secured the API endpoints by implementing authentication, authorization, and encryption mechanisms with which they could protect sensitive data and prevent unauthorized access to the program. This was followed up by this followed best practices for securing web application and APIs to mitigate the security risks. So that's how they took care of the security and authorization. They conducted thorough testing and validation of the deployed API endpoints to ensure correctness, reliability, and performance under various conditions, and performed integration testing and load testing to evaluate the behavior of the performance of the API in the production environment. Then this is how the whole thing happened. So by following these steps, they could deploy a trained machine learning model that they built into a production environment and ensured smooth integration with existing systems and meeting performance requirements in real time for real time inferences. So, having looked at how to deploy the model in some detail, what do we do next? We are now coming to the stage of doing the monitoring and maintenance of the system after deployment. So, we will look at the four steps of monitoring and maintenance in terms of how to monitor the deployed models, ensure that they continue to perform well over time, update and retrain them as needed, and adapt to changing conditions of requirements. And that's what we will cover in the next section in few lectures. So thank you so much for watching this third deployment lecture. I hope you're continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next section, in the next lectures. If you have any questions, do feel free to message me. I'll be happy to answer your questions, and also download a PDF file to take a look at anything that you need to, especially those commands that I briefly showed you.